Matt Scratch here, and I just wanted to show you guys my latest purchase here, the 1979 Eldorado. I got this home last night, and I haven't really looked it over that closely myself yet, so I just wanted to give you guys a detailed walk around tour of the car and also myself. Just show you some of the flaws and some of the stuff I'm going to be doing future videos on repairs and stuff. So the front end's pretty nice on this. It's got things like this peeling chrome on the grill and stuff, but I'm okay with that. Like, I'm trying to make a nice driver. I'm going to restore it to nice driving condition and put a new paint job on it and fix what I can afford to and things like this. If I can find a replacement part, great. And if I can't, I will, glue that together or whatever, fasten it together however I can to make it look as good as I can. Really happy to see things like the hood looks really straight, the roof looks really straight. It doesn't look like people have been jumping on the car or anything. And I mean, the bumpers aren't bent up, they sit all nice and aligned, and that's a huge bonus that it doesn't need a bunch of chrome work. Most of the trims on the car. Here's the really bad part about this car. Both sides are like this. The pillars are just completely shot, and that's a big one. Got to remove the fender, the door, the hood, this panel here, all these trim pieces off here, and protect the dash, remove the glass, all that stuff just to access that. And then that's multi-layers of metal that join up here, so that's going to be a very extensive repair. I will do a video on it when I tackle it. But I'm telling you right now from experience, it's going to be 20 to 25 hours per side just to tackle these repairs. And that's not counting up around the windshield here. So I'm going to have a lot of work to do there. It looks like it's good around the pop-up sunroof, so I'm happy about that. The vinyl top's no good. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here. I've never installed a vinyl top. I don't know a lot about doing upholstery work, but I really like the look of the vinyl on here, so I would like to try and put one on. This is probably about as simple as it gets for a vinyl top, so I think we'll try to get this off in a way that we can use it as a pattern. There's a lot of rust, which means the whole car is going to have to be disassembled. Things like these tail light panels will have to be removed. The extension panels there, all the trim of course will have to come off the car, and a lot of the interior will probably have to come out of the car, and all the things like the emblem there, the trunk lock, all the trim. These panels are a problem on these cars, I'm learning. I think they changed them later on and they were made out of like a more of a plasticky material, but these particular ones are made out of a rubbery material. I do have some glue that's appropriate for patching those, so I think I may do a video on repairing those if I decide to, or I might try to fabricate them out of metal. We'll just have to see what works out to be the easiest there. Whatever I do, I will share with you guys. That's what this car is all about. I want it to be on the channel, and you guys can follow my restoration of it. It's not going to be a full frame off restoration, but it's gonna get what it needs. Very extensive body restoration and mechanical tune-up, and just go through it end to end and do whatever I can afford to. I can't afford to do things like reupholster the interior, but luckily the interior is actually pretty decent. It doesn't need a lot of attention aside from a good cleaning to be as good enough for me. It's not flawless, and I mean there's some permanent wear on the seat over there, but I can tell you from experience that at least this seat, and probably the back one, looks about the same. I really think that they'll condition up, clean up and condition. I'll do a video on cleaning and conditioning these. I've done the ones in my Lincoln with really good results, and so I'm anxious to share my process with you guys. There is some sun fading and different things like that. Some of these things I'll be able to get some dye and re-dye that again so it's not faded. And some of the wear and stuff I'll just have to live with. These cracks I may recover this with something, or I may find a better cover. But I know I can clean this up and make it look a lot better than it does, and make it look good enough for me. The carpet's probably one thing I'll be replacing. I imagine I have to strip it all out to do metal repairs. You can see areas like that. There's rust. There's rust along the bottoms of the door. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of metal repair. There's a missing emblem there, so that's something I'll have to make note of. Things like this, I'll be making a list of all the little pieces that I need for the car, sort of a prioritized list, and I'll break it down into categories. I'll show you when I get it made up, but basically that's what I do when I get a car, is I go through it and find every little piece it needs and sort of make a list, and then I can find the cheapest way to overcome those hurdles, I guess. Some of the things you put on the list you might not ever get to, and some of the things you'll need to get to, like the fuel pumps that I gotta replace to get this running, and different things like that. So being that this is a GM bolt pattern, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find some nicer wheels than this. I mean, these are just hubcaps on steel wheels, so I'd like to do, I'm not going to modify the car too much or anything, or do any real custom work, because I really like the way the car looks from the factory, but I would like to dress it up a little with things like that, pimp it a little. It's a pimpin' car, so it deserves some pimpin' wheels. Look at that, isn't that cool? It's got the thermometer, outdoor thermometer on the mirror. Okay, so one other thing that I've carefully inspected on this car is the chassis, the frame. It's a body-on-frame car, and so you want to look this over really careful before you buy a car. I bought this car sight unseen, and I expected it would have some frame rot, and I'm not disappointed at all. It has some. It's not a problem. I will do a video on properly and safely repairing this, properly plating it, and making it so that it's just as strong as it was when it was new. You can see it's still in very good shape up in the torque box area, which is the critical strength area of the frame, and we are going to restore all the other areas to be equally strong too. I have checked it all over though, and that's really the only bad area. The rest of it I'll be able to clean up and coat it with a good rust paint, and that will be enough. There's where the Eldorado emblem went, so that'll be another one that I have to locate. I definitely want to get the original emblems back on the car everywhere. Annoyingly, the trunk lid keeps on slamming. The shocks on it aren't very strong anymore, and there's a bit of a breeze out here, but very cool. I see the original donut rim there, temporary tire there, is completely unused. It's got all the nubbles on it. It's even got writing on the tread. Never touched the road or been bolted to the car. You can still see it's still shiny in all the lug holes there. So I really like that. That does add some collector value to the car, actually. Not much, but a little bit. And another cool thing is you can see that somebody bought a replacement for one of the seat belt covers. I'll just show you where that is. Right here, these are all faded out, and like I said, you could dye something like that, but I'd rather replace it if I have a new part. That went and slammed down again. Okay, well, you can see that's the original air cleaner, and it says electronic fuel injection. Pretty amazing. 1979, and it had electronic fuel injection, and it has a trunk pull down motor as well, but doesn't appear to be working. It's in the up position. I'm assuming it won't go down. I may play with that and try and clean it up and get it working. I may convert it to a manual trunk lid. I did that on my Lincoln, and I can do that and have it so that it can still have a new motor put on it later. But the motors are pretty pricey, so. Okay, well, it's going to be really hard to see this cool feature right now. I'll show you at some later point when I have the wheel off that this car does, in fact, in 1979 have 4-wheel disc brakes. And it's also got four-wheel independent suspension. It's got load leveling rear suspension, coil springs, and then it has air shocks that will raise the car up if it sinks down from having a heavy load in it, and just levels it back out again. So it's not like the Lincoln Air Ride where if it goes flat the car just drops to the ground. So I kind of like that better. So some other cool features that you might not expect on a 79 car. It's got automatic headlights. Looks like they're auto dimming and also auto on and off, I believe. And then it's of course got the cruise control. It's got a telescoping steering column as well as tilt. Looks like that's an aftermarket stereo. It would have had a 8-track player in it originally, I think. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. We'll just have to see if everything works on this door, or try and establish why they took it apart. And we'll probably clean and oil all the doors, window slides and things like that, and replace any worn parts when we have it all apart and we're looking at everything. And I'll have to be removing the door panel off the other side anyways to paint. I do notice that this car was originally this color of blue. It's much lighter blue, and I don't really like that. I think it should be a dark color. Whoever repainted it and chose the color, I kind of agree with them. So I'm thinking I'm going to be doing it in a dark blue again, probably Patriot Blue. It's a really nice Chrysler color, and if I don't choose to do that, it will be because I choose to paint it black. So I think it would look good in black also. I haven't completely decided yet. Okay, so this is a power plant. It's a 5.7 liter V8. It's actually designed by Oldsmobile, and it was also used in the Oldsmobile Tornado. And the interesting thing about it is it's got factory electronic fuel injection. That's right, in 1979 Cadillac had electronic fuel injection. In fact, I believe they had this engine since 75 or 76. They had that electronic fuel injection, so I thought that was pretty impressive. This is also a front-wheel drive car. You might be confused by the V8 engine sitting that way, but if you look back there, there's the drive axle coming out of the side of the transmission. And I really like this setup because it offers a lot of space to work on everything. Look at all that space behind the engine, full access to the wiring harness everywhere, and all the lines and hoses and plumbing. I really like that, and we still have a lot of good room up here. If we had to change a water pump or something like that, it looks like it'd be very easy to do. Manifolds and spark plugs are accessible. Even the air conditioning parts aren't really in the way. It's really got a lot of room under here. So here you can see this will be the air pump for the airlift system I was talking about in the back there. So if you had some people in the back seat or a bunch of heavy luggage in the trunk in the back end, squat it down, this would engage and lift it back up to the normal ride height. Okay, so I have mentioned this before in another video, but I think it's worth mentioning again. Tires all have a DOT number on them, and if you look at that DOT number, it will tell you when the tire was made. So remember how I was saying these were really old and rotten and I had to drive slow yesterday? Well, look at that, they were made in 1989. So yeah, they're pretty old tires. You can see this is going to be another hurdle that will end up costing me at least a few $100s, is all this trim and weather stripping like this around the doors. I doubt it's going to come off in one piece. You can see it's already disintegrating from age, and I know from experience when I start pulling on that stuff, it's not going to come off in one piece. So that's going to be a big mess right there to deal with. If the car was in a little bit better shape, I might try to leave some of that on, but it needs to come off to access some of the areas that are going to be repaired and where rust is brewing. So to conclude, I paid 300 bucks for this car, and I'm happy with it for that price. If it was much more than that, I don't think it would really be worth anybody's time to fix it, and even now I know I'm probably going to spend more than I could go out and buy a driving one for, but I think I'll end up with a better car when I'm done, and you know, I'm doing it for the experience of doing it, for the joy of doing the work and saving this car and bringing it back from the dead. That's where it's at for me, and I really think that this is going to be a car that's going to grow in value, and so if I keep it long term, it's going to be a good investment anyways. I can see the value on cars like this is going up as other cars like muscle cars and stuff get to be unobtainable to people like myself and other car guys. We've moved on to cars like this, and that in turn will push the value up on cars like this.